Have you ever felt a calling for more? Or in your decision to become more, have you started to feel isolated from friends, from family? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you insight on why you're starting to feel those feelings. But first, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Let's get to it. And there were two caterpillars, Eric and John. And these two caterpillars loved eating grass and just walking on the grass and trees every day. Same thing every day in and day out. But one day, there was a big, beautiful, glamorous butterfly. And the caterpillar John looked up and was just in awe, was enamored about such a beautiful creature. And then he asked himself this one question: is this all to life? Is this all that life has to offer? And John contemplated, he thought about that for a while. Not eating no grass, not moving in no trees, just stood right there thinking about, is this all that life has to offer me? Well, have you ever felt that? Have you ever just stopped and thought about, am I doing all I can? Well, this is what's going through John's head. And his other caterpillar friend, Eric, came along, looking to do the same old thing, eating grass, crawling on the trees. And he asked John, what's going on? What is the problem? It's a sunny day, a bunch of grass and plants to eat on, and the same old trees back there. And John said he saw a beautiful flying creature, a butterfly. And he asked him, Eric, is this all that life has to offer us? Eric looked confused. He was thinking to himself, yes, a comfortable life. We have all the food we can eat. There's trees right there. We just got to stay comfortable and keep doing what we've been doing day in, day out. So as the days went by, Eric wanted still to keep enjoying his regular routine. But John had a sensing that there's a discovery of becoming that was calling him. He started to sense that there was more to life. And what began to happen is what tends to happen with a lot of us. A lot of times when you are looking, you have a desire that there's a calling for your life, that there's more to become, things start to shift, not externally, but internally first. And this is what was going on with John the caterpillar. He was just, he could sense that there was more to life than just eating grass and crawling on trees. So as the several weeks went by, the days went by, Eric was stuck in his routine, and they began to naturally separate. John stopped hanging around him. Eric thought about it at first, but he was enjoying his comfortable life. Now, several weeks went by again, and John was now in a cocoon, isolated, transforming. Eric didn't think nothing of it. And after weeks went by, he heard a name, Eric, Eric. He looked around and couldn't see anybody who was calling his name. And then he said, no, up here, Eric. And he saw John had transformed into a beautiful butterfly. Eric shouted, John, is that you? And John simply said yes, as he flew away to new heights and horizons. So what are three things that we can learn from this story? Well, the first thing is staying comfortable stagnates your growth. Now, my son learned this perfectly well last summer. His goal was to be one of the best catchers in his little league, and he was rewarded by making an all-star team. And this was our first experience. You know, as a parent, you're like, yes, we made an all-star team, and, you know, let's get going. And as we started facing teams, we started to understand there were levels to this. You know, I remember playing a team. I remember my son playing a team, and this was the first time that he faced three pitchers who were throwing around 55 miles per hour. and straight and could do change up, could do different pitches. And this was the first time I saw my son, he had froze a little bit. And I asked him, son, what's going on? And he started whelping in his eyes. And then Tim and I said, son, it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be scared. Just acknowledge it so you can move on. We were comfortable where we're at the Little League. You know, we could do the same routine, get the same results. But then once we went outside of our comfort, we saw that there was levels to this. And this was the second thing you can learn from this story, is that uncomfortability produces growth. From that league, from the All-Stars, my son actually saw that there were different levels, and we started to change our routine and our sights on being better. Now, if he wants to go further in baseball, it's up to him. But the main part was to be uncomfortable is actually to produce growth. And let me give you a Bible verse that states this very well. It's going to be Matthew chapter 9, verse 16 and 17. It says that no man putteth a piece of new cloth unto an old garment. For that which is put in to fill it up, take it from the garment, and the rent is made worse. Neither do men put new wine in old bottles, else the bottles break, and the wine runneth out, and the bottles perish. But they put new wine into new bottles, and are both preserved. What was happening was John, the caterpillar, started to feel something was more. And in the discovery of becoming more, he later found out that actually for him to accept that new call in his life, that new transformation, he had to go through transformation. So he was in a cocoon for several weeks. And once he was able to transform, his new body actually accepted the belief he knew he had all along. And while he looked down at Eric, the caterpillar, it wasn't that he was looking down saying, oh, you're just going to be comfortable. But now there was a separation. There was things that were happening. That leads me to my third point. Transformation always creates separation. Now, this is something that is difficult to really grasp. And I've really felt this for myself personally, because as you are committed to growing, your first instinct is to share with the people around you. And a lot of times it's disheartening because let's say this thing that you are starting to understand, you know it can benefit somebody, your family and friends, but they don't want to hear it. They look at you strange. They say, oh, you know, this is the same son. You know, when Jesus went back to Nazareth, it was hard for them to separate him being a carpenter's son, and it created unbelief. So he had, you know, the Bible talks about there's no prophet that's respected in his own city. So as you're going through transformation, as you're in the discovery process of becoming, that's going to create separation. I just want you to understand that eagles never go to the ground with the chickens. I'm not calling your family and friends chickens, but I'm just trying to create an analogy that you can understand, because this is something that is you're going to have to accept. Now, there's going to be some friends and family that accept the new you, the new mindset, the new heart in you, the new belief. And there's going to be some people who want you to go back to what you were doing. Why? Because where somebody met you is their comfortability with you. Let me say that one more time. Where in the process somebody met you is their comfortability with you. And if you decide to change, let's give you an instance. Let's say you wanted to get drunk every weekend and you hang around people who want to get drunk. And you decided to say, you know what? I'm going to stop drinking. The first thing they're going to ask you is, what's wrong? They're going to ask you what's wrong, because your energies were the same. Your nature was the same. But when you transform, you have a renewing of the mind. You have a circumcision of the heart. Your nature has not changed. And as in the story of the two caterpillars, Eric and John, John felt that Eric didn't accept that new belief. So when he went to his cocoon, that created isolation, that created separation. And once John transformed, the becoming was complete in regards to John going into a different level. So John went from a caterpillar that could only eat grass and go crawl on the trees to a beautiful, glamorous butterfly that could now fly to new heights, new horizons, and travel the world. So I want to ask you today, is there something that's in you that's calling you for greatness? Matter of fact, I'm talking to the believers here. Is there something that God wants you to do, but you've been afraid? Or have you accepted that you understand you need to transform? Are you having difficulty separating your friends that knew you, who you used to be? Well, these are questions that you may have to answer if you just sit back and think about it. The three things I want you to really pull from this video is that being uncomfortable produces growth. Comfortability stalls growth, and transformation creates separation. Decisions come down to your choices. You have to choose whether you want to be comfortable or become something better, a different version of yourself. But the one thing I want to leave you with is that if you choose to become, I can promise you that once you transform, you'll be able to fly to new, greater, and more abundant heights. Until next time, talk to you soon.